Chair recognizes that the Lenoir County Board of Education has established a quorum and calls the February 7th, 2022 regular monthly board meeting to order. Chair recognizes Mr. Nick Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. May the words spoken in this room tonight be beneficial to the students, parents, staff, and administrators in our school system. And may we be led by the guiding principle to always base our decisions on the best interests of our young people. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Mr. Brent Williams to present the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my honor and privilege tonight to present to you for your consideration and hopefully your approval of tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Is there a recommendation or a motion pertaining to the agenda?
Move to accept the agenda.
Then we got a motion by Mr. Davis. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Woods. We have a motion by Mr. Davis and a second by Mr. Woods to approve the board agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, Chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda is set for tonight's meeting. Okay, first of all, what we traditionally like to do is recognize any of our elected officials. I did see Mr. Person Harris with us, who's with a Lenoir County Commissioner. Is there anyone else that's an elected official that I didn't recognize? Okay, thank you, Mr. Harris. Appreciate you for joining us tonight.
Yes, sir.
I do have a couple of comments I would like to make. We would like to thank everyone for adhering to the board policy and wearing a face covering while in all Lenoir County public school facilities. We would like to request that board members and presenters please speak up, as it is difficult sometimes to hear what someone is saying when they are wearing a face covering. We have a full agenda for tonight, and I would ask that each board member have their questions ready for our presenters. I would also ask that you request to be recognized before your questions. This would help facilitate an orderly, timely, efficient, and effective meeting. We would like to continue to thank all of the staff and employees, regardless of job description, of the Lenoir County Public School System for the outstanding commitment, dedication, and hard work that has gone and continues to go into making the students of Lenoir County Public School as successful as possible under the extraordinary circumstances that existed during the last school year and continues to exist during the current school year. We want to assure all stakeholders that Lenoir County Board of Education and the administration will commit to trying to do everything possible to provide for a safe and healthy environment for students, staff, and community. We not only want to provide a quality education for students, but also a safe environment for our teachers and staff to foster learning and success. February is Black History Month, and we have a preview of the celebrations to be held in our schools this month. February is also Career and Technical Month, and we have presentations tonight highlighting the great opportunities for our students in Lenoir County. That concludes my comments. Chair recognizes Mr. Brent Williams for his report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Friday of last week was a very difficult day for our school system and our community. For the second time this school year, there was a funeral for one of our LCPS students. Family, classmates, friends, and other loved ones gathered at River of Life Christian Center across from Rochelle Middle School to honor the life of Michael C. Mills. It was a wonderful celebration of life, surely one gone too soon. Family members and other loved ones emphasized during the service Michael's big smile and his love for others. After the funeral, as the cars were pulling out of the church parking lot, some of Michael's classmates and staff members from Rochelle Middle School gathered on campus directly across the street from the church to hold up balloons and a banner that they had created to honor Michael. It was a touching moment of compassion and a sincere expression of love from our children and the entire Rochelle Middle School family to one of their own. Surely he touched the lives of those around him in positive ways. Without question, Michael will be remembered for his smile, for his laughter, and for the joy that he brought out in others. Let us keep Michael's family in our thoughts and prayers during this difficult time during the days to come. February is National Black History Month. Tonight, Ms. Herring will present an overview of the types of activities and events that we have planned in our schools this month. As we have done for the last 2 years, we will share with you next month a multimedia presentation documenting those activities and events in our schools in celebration of National Black History Month during the month of February. February is also National Career and Technical Education Month. During February each year, we highlight the outstanding CTE programs in our schools. Tonight, we will share with you an exciting overview of some of the learning taking place in our innovative CTE programs throughout Lenoir County. This month and every month, we thank and celebrate our outstanding CTE teachers and students for all that they are doing every day to move forward and to demonstrate excellence so consistently. Tonight, you will indeed have the treat of seeing our kids present. Now, we could share with you as adults, and hopefully that would have some impact, but no greater impact could we have than having our children tell the story and show you what they're doing in their classes. I think that you will be sincerely impressed. This is National School Counseling Week. I want to take the opportunity to thank our dedicated superstar school counselors who are working so hard every day to serve the students, parents, staff members, and everybody in the school community, internally and externally, every single day, so well, day in and day out. Their services always have been important to us. They always have been treasured members of these school staffs, but never more so during this moment of pandemic and recovery, when there's so much strain and so much pressure on our children and on all. Our counselors have stepped to the fore, and they've worked with our school nurses and our school social workers and our teachers and our other staff members to make sure our children are taken care of every day, and beyond just being taken care of, to make sure they have what they need to progress and to be successful at the next level. So this week and every week, today and every day, we celebrate our school counselors and we thank them for their service. They're a true blessing to our kids every day, and we appreciate them. Tonight, it is my great honor and pleasure to recognize some of our outstanding young people. As you might know, it's college scholarship season, and I'm proud to share that our LCPS seniors are distinguishing themselves in pursuit of some of the nation's top scholarships. Tonight, we would like to recognize 3 of them. We have it up on the billboards, and you've seen the billboards with our kids earning the top scholarships. Folks, it's true, and we can prove it, and the proof is there in our classrooms, in our hallways, on our campuses, in our cafeterias, and on those yellow school buses. The proof is in our wonderful children. And these kids are getting it done day in and day out, and they're earning some of the nation's top scholarships. Tonight, we have 3 examples. First, and we'll have the kids come up, young adults come up individually, and we'll honor them with a certificate. And then I'm going to ask each of them to share, if they will, from their experiences, anything that they'd like to share with you, just briefly, about this scholarship journey, about earning the scholarship, about their road to where they are, and reflections that they might want to share with you. That's putting them on the spot a little bit. We didn't tell them that we were going to do that, but hopefully they'll forgive us. First, from Kinston High School, Mr. Nicholas Harvey III is a finalist for the Moorhead Kane Scholarship. I said finalist. He's gone through all these levels to finalist level at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. It was a process that began with 2,000 applicants. It's now been narrowed to 160 finalists. Nicholas will attend the final selection week on February 12th through 13th to sample life as a Moorhead Kane Scholar and continue with the selection process. About 70 Moorhead Kane scholarships are awarded annually. Nicholas will find out the results. I think there's a little bit of other stuff going on in the world on that day. It's February 14th, so he'll find out on that day. So, Nicholas, if you'd like to share a couple of things with the group about your reflections and all that, and then we'll present the certificate to you.
Definitely. The Moorhead Cane process, it's been a long and tedious process, and I'd first like to thank everyone that supported me through the process, my teachers, my principals, my community, everyone that has helped me. I'm really grateful how the Moorhead Cane selection process has allowed me to network, not only with other students from all across the world, but with successful professionals that I'm able to learn from and will benefit me later in life. And then also how the selection process has allowed me to deep dive into myself and my own personal values and explore things that I like and explore things that I'd like to accomplish in my life. So I'm definitely thankful for all those things.
And Nicholas won't tell you, he's too modest to tell you, but the UNC football coaches are intending to get him out there on that field. But I want to say, from superintendent standpoint of this school system, after the safety and well-being of our students, academics, that's our top mission. I want you to know, everything's important, but that's our top mission. I want you to know that he is in the process of earning one of the nation's most prestigious scholarships in academics first. And then they also want him in athletics. So I think that's outstanding. Nicholas, if you'd come forward, we'd like to celebrate. The board chair, would you like to come forward? And his parents, if they're here. I think your dad works somewhere around here. You know? You met this guy?
I don't want to stand beside me.
That'd be a great Valentine's gift, right? Next, from Lenoir County Early College High School, Kate Benson was a semifinalist for the Park Scholarship to NC State University, and as such is among the top 25% of all students who applied for this scholarship. And I've just been told tonight, Mr. Sainaman, her principal, broke this news. Kate is actually in the running for another scholarship or is a recipient.
Yes, sir.
Will you tell us about that, Kate?
Yeah, so ECU has just sent me an email confirming my spot as a chancellor's in their honors program. So that was really exciting. And also, in a couple more weeks, I will be going for an interview for an early assurance program as a physical therapist. I was selected as a finalist, so I will be interviewed for that position.
Outstanding, outstanding. Now, the flexibility from early college, high school has allowed for this and allowed you to be in contention for that, and so many different pathways open to you. And just so proud of that. So if you'd share a couple of words. Now, she just shared another accomplishment there that 99% of the high school students around are not eligible for. Let's give her a round of applause for that. Share some reflections from your journey or about early college, high school concept or anything you'd like to share.
Of course. Well, first off, I was just extremely honored to be a semifinalist selectee. LCPS and the early college staff and teachers are hugely to thank for that. They are a great support system and have really walked me through not only the Park Scholarship application and ECU applications, but just college applications in general. So that's been very, very helpful. As a semi-finalist, I did go to an interview and was able to speak to a lovely group of judges and conversate with them, which was just a great experience overall, and I was just very happy to be a part of that.
Thank you. And the Park Scholarship, again, at NC State University is, again, one of the most prestigious scholarships in the nation. It's on a par with Moorhead Cane and the other preeminent scholarships. So we're very, very proud of you for that. And the Chancellor's Scholar at East Carolina, and you've secured that.
Yes, sir.
All right, so excellent. All right, Kate, you come forward. And her parents. Because it takes us all, doesn't it? Thank you. finally, from South Lenoir High School, Natalie Dale is a candidate in the 2022 United States Presidential Scholars Program after advancing to the national level as a state finalist. Of the approximately 3.6 million high school seniors graduating this year across the United States, Natalie is in the company of just 5,000 nationwide students. Natalie was also a semifinalist for the Levine Scholarship, the top scholarship at UNC Charlotte. So, Natalie, we are so proud of you. That is outstanding. How about a round of applause for those accomplishments? To share with us some reflections, if you'd like to, on your journey with these scholarships, on scholarship itself, or pursuing them, or on South Lenoir High School, anything that you'd like to share.
So Miss Tyndall has been my biggest help with going through these scholarships. She is absolutely awesome. The first scholarship that I did apply for that was large was the Levine Scholarship, and I was so excited to make it as a semifinalist. But unfortunately, I did not continue through to be a finalist, but they did offer me another scholarship also, or instead. And the presidential scholarship, it is a very tedious process. As he had said before, it's going to take about 16 hours to finish the application, and it requires like 5 different essays. And I'm just so honored to be selected as my school finalist and a county finalist to move on to
And
the
Natalie
state
also
level.
recently won an art award with the Historical Association, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and you might have seen her picture in the paper for that. Yes, I try to keep up. So out of the nation with 3.6 million students, they've selected 5,000. And that seems like a large number until you cross-reference it with the 3.6 million. And she is North Carolina's representative. So proud of her. Natalie, if you would come forward, and if your parents are here, if they'd come forward. Your principal is also here, Mr. Sandman. Oh, excuse me, no. Mr. Sandman worked with her for many years at your years in South Florida. Don't tell Miss Pierce that. All right.
Good job.
I would be remiss if I did not share on Counseling Week just what a major impact Ms. Tyndall and counselors like Ms. Tyndall have. These kids don't do it by themselves. It does take the parents. It does take us all, but it also takes very involved and motivated counselors to help them. So, Ms. Tyndall, we thank you as well. Okay, all right. I have the pleasure of recognizing one Mr. Wesley Vernon. He was the winner of the 2022 LCPS Spelling Bee, and to all the school, Wesley outpaced all the other student spellers who competed in the finals on February 1st. Now that process is they have the school spelling bee, and then they go to the county spelling bee, and then we get one overall winner from that competition. I was told the competition was stiff this year. This is Wesley's second consecutive win. He's a 7th grader at Woodington Middle School, and it is Woodington's third consecutive time claiming that crown. So great job to Woodington Middle School. Great job, Wesley. Let's give him a round of applause. Wesley, just quickly, hate to put you on the spot, man, but you are the champion speller. Any reflections on being the champ?
I want to thank my friends and my family because they've put forth a lot of time helping me study, and even though they could do anything else in the world, they've done the most boring thing, and I want to thank them a lot. So
We thank you, and we thank your parents, or your mom's here. We thank them, and we thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Wesley, congratulations.
Good job, Leslie.
And finally, Mr. Hill, you can stay up there. The North Carolina School Boards Association, its Academy for School Boardsmanship, would like to honor Mr. Bruce Hill for successful completion of the Academy of School Boardsmanship training requirements during the 2021 academic year. And we have the presentation of the Scholars Circle certificate that this organization sent to us, and we'd like to present that to you, Mr. Hill. If our Vice Chair would join us, please. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. I would like to say, however, that we are appreciative of the parents who are in the audience and our students, our CTE. I was going to say that at the beginning of their presentation, but they're excited. I was talking to some of them before the board meeting began, and they're really excited about coming to share what they're doing in their classes and that innovation. Our CTE programs continue to be cutting edge. We are one of only 2 districts in North Carolina with a partnership like we have with Crown Manufacturing and Spirit Aerosystems, resulting in guaranteed jobs for the students when they complete the requirements of the program. And those are just 2 of the partnerships that we have out with manufacturing and other business and industry partners. So we're so excited about that. And I think you'll be excited with what you hear tonight.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. Appreciate your report. Okay, next on the agenda will be public comment. We have one person who has signed up to speak tonight, Ms. Crystal Jones. If you'll come to the podium. There is a 3-minute time limit, and Ms. Murchison will keep time.
Hello and thank you. And before I start, I'd like to say, wow, this is why I love Lenoir County. All these opportunities given to these young folks and these students. It's amazing. So first, I'd like to address a few misconceptions. Before I start, I do want to say I'm not against masks. I am for mask options. I am not for the mask mandate. So first, I'd like to address some misconceptions, or rather lies, that have been stated at these board meetings. After I spoke in a meeting a few months back, another lady spoke saying she worked at a medical facility and constantly heard code blue regarding children, and that the code blue was not canceled, meaning the child expired. This is 100% inaccurate, and I feel like it's fear-mongering. At that time she spoke, not one single child in Lenoir County had died from COVID. Another misconception or lie, was stated by a board member, which was how deadly the Omicron variant was. The Omicron variant is in fact not deadly. As my child's doctor stated this week, the Omicron variant is minor for children and is they're easily and quickly recovered from. The second thing I'd like to address is that each child is different and all children do not fall under the same medical guidelines. I have 5 children, and my husband and I, their parents, do not make the same medical choices for all of them. They are each different. 3 of my children are adopted, and we have little to no medical history for them. Our choices for them may be more cautious than our choices for our 2 biological children, but it's just that, my choice, our choice. When I gave birth and we adopted, my husband and I were entrusted with their lives, not just medical decisions, but their lives. These are our children, and I promise you, no one can or will do a better job of looking out for them than my husband and I know other parents feel the same. Lastly, I'd like to address the decision that was made at the last emergency board meeting. It was approved to start back mandating masks, yet the mandate was not implemented until 2 days later. I'd like to quote several students and say, oh, COVID took a day off. You can tell us that the extra day was given so that we can all be prepared, but I don't believe that is accurate. We all know that that is not an accurate excuse. We all have access to masks, including the schools. If the children needed masks, they could have got it from there. If you truly saw that the masks were saving lives, you would have implemented them immediately. Let's quit playing politics and let the parents and students decide what is best for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. We would like to thank the public for their time, interest, concerns, and comments pertaining to the Lenoir County Public School System. All right, we will now move to the presentation portion of the agenda. Chair recognizes Mrs. Melissa Lynch for Digital Learning Showcase.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm excited tonight that we do have two showcases, one from Frank Middle School that I'm excited to share on their behalf, and one from our Early College High School in which we have students and our digital learning specialists here. So I'm going to start with Early College High School and introduce to you our digital learning specialist, Ms. Belinda McGinnis, who will introduce her students as they show you what's going on at Early College.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say thank you for having us, and the innovation and the vision that you all have had for digital learning in Lenoir County, and the push in the last couple of years to have our students be creative. I feel like we have seen several of our students kind of blossom in their creativity, and they are definitely having a little more fun with their activities. The two students that I have with me today I'm very proud of. I'll let them introduce themselves in a second. But we did look at several of their projects that they've created, and it was hard to pick one, but so they chose a video on satire that they had completed last semester in their English 3 class, where you're going to see some twins who are meeting each other for the first time in a little bit of a humorous setting. But I will turn it over to these two students now to introduce themselves and give you some information about their project.
Hi, I'm Shamaya Hall,
And I'm Kayla Clark.
and we're both sophomores at the Lenoir County Early College High School. When we were tasked with an objective to create a mini story using either satire or irony based on a story called The Story of an Hour, we couldn't make just any boring presentation. No, the creation that you're about to see is a creation that we made all with the touch of an iPad.
That's right. The iPad was a key part of our project. We didn't need a lot of materials. We used iMovie, green paper for our green screen effect, and YouTube for any background music.
Through this project, we learned how to determine when to use satire and irony.
And how to spot satire and irony.
Thank you for your support and taking time out to view our presentation.
I'm getting so much taller than you.
I know, baby, but
A little bit of technical difficulties.
I'm getting so much taller than you.
I know, baby, but Daddy got to tell you something. Sit down for me. No, you have a twin.
For real?
Yes, but the same reason as you have. And 5 years your mother.
What, mommy?
Yes. It's okay.
One eternity later.
Georgia! I'm right back.
Yes, Mom.
So I have some really terrible news to tell you.
What happened?
You have a twin.
I don't have a twin.
And your twin sister father.
I don't have a father either.
What are you talking about? Georgia, your father and your twin got in the fire a couple years ago. I was going to tell you soon, but I was just waiting for you to mature to understand how I'm trying to tell you.
Why would you do this to me?
Georgia, I'm sorry. Come back, Georgia.
Thank you. As you can see, they are very creative and full of personality, so I'm very proud to have shared this with you today.
of their creation. Thank you.
Samaya and Kianla, thank you very much for your presentation. Anything that you'd like to share with the group about reflections on the project?
So we based our project off the story of Hour. Basically, the story of Hour was about a lady who found out her husband had died, but turns out he didn't really die. But she was happy that he passed away because she'd be free from her husband, but then she found out he was alive, so she passed away.
The definition of a plot twist, right? Okay, all right, well, good deal. Thank you, girls. Let's give them a round of applause.
I very much regret that I said they could go first. They were fantastic. And I would also like to give a shout out to their principal, Mr. Sandeman, who also had some, he helped with the videography of that as well, he said. So that's pretty impressive too, Mr. Sandeman. Okay, good evening. I am happy to be here tonight on behalf of Frink Middle School. Their digital learning specialist, Miss Nancy Gilmore, was unable to be here, but she has put together a fantastic presentation with examples of digital creations that have occurred at Frink Middle School throughout this first semester. The teachers wanted to make sure that they said thank you, that they definitely feel like their students are able to be more creative and are very much benefiting from the tools that they have access to. In Miss Patricia Odom's 6th grade ELA class, they completed a research project in December about Christmas celebrations around the world. Students were able to teach the class about their country's traditions and play a game with them to check their knowledge. This is an example of Caitlin Hardison's project titled Christmas in Italy, and she ended the presentation with the Kahoot online review game in which the students in the class were able to play to check their knowledge. Through the implementation of focused remediation and enrichment groups based on EVOS and MAPS data, teachers have been able to work with students not just on remediation, but also with enrichment. The 8th grade enrichment groups are led by Mr. Jonathan Smith, Ms. Caitlin Sadowski-Peel, and Ms. Nancy Gilmore. And they were able to complete a project titled the Cabs Shark Tank. Students were required to work together in groups to invent a product, create a logo, and a presentation in which they sell their product. They also created a prototype. Mrs. Carlisle, myself, and the school administrators came together to judge their presentations, and Bob, the writer, was the winner of the Cabs Shark Tank presentation. And there is a video of Bob the writer, and it's included in board docs. I'd love for you to go back and view it. The sound's a little low, so I think you'd have a better experience through board docs. Mr. Jonathan Smith is using the technology throughout his courses of visual arts. On this slide, you see a self-portrait by an 8th grader, Ariana Brayboy. She completed this using Sketches School. Students first took a self-portrait or a selfie, and then they brought their image into Sketches School, where they had several options for tracing and finishing their product. Also using Sketches School, students were able to complete a kaleidoscope name design. And this is an example by an 8th grade student, Alyssa Smith. For this project, they had a name as their subject matter, and they were able to create the kaleidoscope. Sixth grader, Myasia Griner, completed this pastel landscape in Sketches School. She was able to study different types of landscapes, such as desertscapes and seascapes, and explored using the pastel and blending tool to create a realistic pastel landscape. And I don't know about you, but I consider myself an okay drawer, but these pictures make me think I'm not so much. In an effort to help students take ownership of their grades and test data, as well as set goals for the school year, Principal Michael Moon and Digital Learning Specialist Ms. Gilmore have rolled out digital portfolios for all students. This template was created by the former DLS at Frink, Susanna Moy, who's now at South Lenoir High School, but this year they've been able to do a full implementation. It starts out with the front cover page, which is all about me. And this gives teachers a good example of interests of their students. Pictured here is a 6th grader, Caitlin Hardison. She was a spelling bee finalist, and you can see that one of the things she wants her teacher to know about her is that she is a great speller. The digital portfolio allows students to fill in information relative to their grades and scores. It also offers opportunities for reflection and goal setting. This is Frank's first year completing the digital portfolios, and so far they're showing to be very worthwhile for students. I'd also like to give a shout out to their digital learning specialist, Ms. Nancy Gilmore, and their principal, Mr. Moon, who will be presenting about this initiative at the statewide technology conference in March. In Ms. Ruth Anderson's 7th grade ELA class, they were reading Fever 1793. She had them in groups of 3 or 4 students, and they were given random poems, not of their making, but based on an acrostic poem about yellow fever. They were asked to make a slide with their new poem and picture to enhance the imagery of their poem, and then insert music to be played while reading their poem. Hello Smart was also used to help students respond to questions about the story Fever 1793. Sixth graders in Ms. Pamela Pate's STEM classes completed time traveler projects researching the history of different inventions. Pictured here is a project on the X-ray machine and one on penicillin. Students created keynote presentations and recorded their voice over the presentation slides. And you've heard about this enough, I know, this school year to know that all of the tools our students are able to use, they're able to have, they're multifaceted. They're able to have images, text, drawings, and their own voice, which is a great way for students to express themselves in any way that they would like. And finally for tonight, students in 8th grade ELA recently read Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes, where they learned about the Rorschach personality test, which uses symmetrical images. Those who test with this have to determine what they see when they look at a picture. Students were then able to create their own ink block pictures using Sketches School with symmetry, and these are a few examples of their work. So as you can see at Frink Middle School, they have a lot of examples across multiple grade levels and multiple content areas where students and teachers are able to utilize the tools that are provided. And I'll be happy to answer any questions, and Mrs. Gilmore and Mr. Moon also wanted to say thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Lynch. Any questions for Mrs. Lynch? Thank you, Mrs. Lynch. Also,
thank you.
Thanks to the teachers and the students at Frink Middle School and to the students and teachers at the early college high school. These showcases are examples. These showcases are examples of how students and teachers are utilizing technology in our school system to learn and to teach. Chair recognizes Mrs. Frances Swinson. Frances Harry. Sorry about that, Frances.
I've answered to much work.
Yeah, I had to. Chair recognizes Mrs. Frances Herring to present a preview of the Lenoir County Public School National Black History Month.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm trying to find the icon to present, and I don't see it. Thank you, Mr. Clark. This evening, I will be sharing with you a preview of what is to come during the month of February. I'm pleased tonight to give you a sneak peek of the exciting activities happening this month to celebrate this year's Black History Month. Pink Hill Elementary is participating in book studies, learning about Elizabeth Freeman, Vivian Thomas, and Effa Manley. Every class will celebrate the lives and history of Black Americans with projects, books, and activities that support the curriculum. Banks Elementary. Each week, Banks will highlight a well-known African American. During morning announcements, one clue will be given each day, and throughout the week, students will place their answers in the mystery person box in the front office. Each Friday, a winner will be drawn and announced during morning announcements. During the week of February 22nd through the 28th, each grade level will submit a video of a student or students telling about a Black history figure in first person. The students will dress up like the historical figure and educate other students on the accomplishments of each of these people. LaGrange Elementary will spend the month recognizing key roles that African Americans play in United States history, including Black inventors that have helped make our lives easier through the creation of innovative products. Northwest Elementary will celebrate Black History Month in each class and by entire grade levels with activities, projects, and lessons. Continue Savannah has created a choice board with dozens of activities for students and classrooms to select to celebrate Black History Month. One of the many choices is to use the green screen studio set up in the school to present speeches and reports on certain celebrated people. And our final sneak peek is from E.B. Frink. We are already very impressed with the projects that are seen all over the school there. The above photo was taken on the 6th grade hall the morning after Mrs. Howell finished the periodic table of Black history displayed on the hallway. It's made to look like a periodic table of elements, where each square represents an important figure in Black history. The squares are color-coded, with each color representing activists, scientists, artists, entertainers, and athletes. There are a number of excellent projects underway this month at Frink as well, including a panel discussion from local leaders and an HBCU college fair at the end of the month. And we will be getting more information out about those events in the near future. And I look forward to my presentation at the March meeting when I can share with you all that our students and staff have done this month to celebrate the great courageous works of America's African American communities throughout history. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments for Mrs. Herring? Thank you, Mrs. Herring, for that presentation.
Thank you.
We look forward to student and school presentations celebrating Black History Month. And my apologies, Mrs. Herring.
You are fine.
Because had a conversation with Francis Swinson, and I guess that stuck with me.
That's fine.
Chair recognizes Mr. Brent Williams and Mrs. Francis Herring and Mr. Nick Harvey to provide an overview of the 2021-2022 school year to date.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In our continuing presentation, our monthly update about the school year with regard to the continued pandemic and our response to the same. We will present first from the instructional lens and then through the operational lens, first with Ms. Herring and then Mr. Harvey. Ms. Herring.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Over the past 2 weeks, the schools have presented their school improvement plans to the district team right here in this boardroom. Each principal explained what was going well, what needed more attention, and we asked in return, what can we do to better support you? While we have 4 more schools with which to meet, the ones we have spent time have had many celebrations and provided plans with strategies to ensure success and growth of their students. Our students have completed the middle of year DIBELS assessments in kindergarten through 3rd grade, and the results are promising and have provided us critical feedback so that we can drill down to what our early learners need exactly to grow and access the curriculum. Our schools are working tirelessly to create individual learning plans for those students who are not at grade level and progress monitoring in order to assess how interventions are supporting students' learning and whether or not interventions need to be changed. Our Science Fair virtual showcase is this Friday, February 11th, and we are very excited to watch 48 students representing every school present their science fair projects this week. We are sending all 48 projects to the regional fair on February the 26th. February is CTE month, and we will be recognizing the great programs, the teachers, and the students all month as we highlight our CTE programs and organizations. I look forward to the CTE presentations that we will have this evening. We have submitted our district's literacy plan this week and are looking forward to feedback from the literacy team at DPI. The plan is actually not due until March 15th, but we wanted to ensure we had time to work with Ms. Amy Ryan and her team to ensure that our plan is the most effective in the state. We are also working diligently on our implementation schedule for our elementary teachers' letters training to take place over the next 2 years. This is an intensive professional learning opportunity required by North Carolina General Statute, focusing on the balanced literacy approach to reading and writing. The work is good, and the teachers will appreciate how powerful and meaningful the sessions will be. Our summer programming has been planned, and we are gathering applications from our employees now to ensure that we are fully staffed this summer to meet not only the instructional needs of our students, but the social emotional needs, the feeding needs, the transportation needs, and the facility needs. So far, we've had tremendous interest from our staff, and we look forward to sharing details with you in the coming months. Our elementary students are excited to celebrate Tuesday, TWOSDAY, on 2/22/22, with many fun activities planned. This is also Digital Learning Day that each school will participate. I will share later this evening a few ways, well I just did, anyway, I shared with you the things that we will be doing for Black History Month. And I look forward to our full report at the March meeting of all the exciting and meaningful ways that our teachers, staff, and students will celebrate African Americans and influence our lives. We are hosting district-level professional learning communities, PLCs, with our biology teachers, our Math 1 teachers, our social studies teachers, and our 8th grade science teachers all this month. We started some at the end of January and are concluding this month. And finally, I know the students probably don't want me to announce it, but finally progress reports go out this Wednesday, February the 9th. So parents, be sure to ask your children to see their progress reports this week, and that includes mine too. Thank you, and that concludes my portion.
Thank you, Ms. Herring. Mr. Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board members. I would like to begin tonight by reminding everyone and recognizing, as Mr. Williams did earlier, that this week is National School Counselor Week. Effectively but incorrectly called guidance counselors, and we have an outstanding one in the audience. Because in today's times, they surely do much more than provide guidance to our students. Our team of school counselors have accepted and met every challenge that they've faced for many years, but never more than since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our team has provided our students social and emotional care and support, not only to our students, but at times to our staff members, and even in the most unfortunate situations, even our parents. Their jobs indeed go beyond the school walls and extend into the community. Please join me by wishing our school counselors a fantastic week. Board members, we are forever thankful for you and your support to use ESSER funds to add additional school nurses to our team. This additional support to our schools has been critical to navigate the testing program that LCPS has been in and on the forefront of since the beginning of the pandemic. We thank Mr. Woods for his efforts for recognizing that program and sharing it with us. That pilot, as you know, we're one of the state's pilot districts of the testing program, so thank you, Mr. Woods, for that. As you have seen in the reports provided by Mrs. Heath, our numbers, our COVID-19 numbers are pointing in the right direction. However, the number of tests conducted in our schools remain the same. In the grants world, we have submitted this week the COVID-19 N95 mask to the Department of Public Instruction, and additionally a $5,000 grant, and we thank Ms. Hines and Ms. Beverly Key for their support for a $5,000 grant for feminine products. So we are hopeful and fingers crossed that we receive those grants. In athletics this week includes the final week of the regular season. It's unbelievable it's happened so quickly for our winter sports program. We are just a few weeks away from our spring sports season and would like to wish all of our winter sports programs much success as they enter the playoff portion of the season over the next 2 weeks. Finally, as Mr. Williams indicated earlier, I would also like to thank our student services team of counselors, nurses, and social workers for their efforts over the last 2 weeks as our system recovers from one tragic event that resulted in the loss of one of our students and a very scary event or incident that happened at another one of our schools. Their actions to provide unwavering support to our students, teachers, and families is unmatched and has not been unnoticed and is very much appreciated. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Williams, Mrs. Herring, or Mr. Harvey? All right, thank you, Mr. Williams, Mrs. Harvey, Mr. Harvey, and Mrs. Herring for that update. And as I stated earlier, we would like to thank all staff and employees for all their dedication and hard work for the students of Lenoir County Public Schools. Chair recognizes Mrs. Brittany Harrison and Ms. Amy Jones to present Career and Technical Education Month showcases.
Ms. Harrison's going to be presenting.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to celebrate CTE Month with you this evening. My name is Brittany Harrison, and I'm the High School Career Development Coordinator for Lenoir County Public Schools. With me tonight is Gina Cousins. She's our Curriculum and Instructional Management Coordinator and our Middle School Career Development Coordinator. The CTE Department is excited to share more information about our programs and the opportunities that CTE provides students to prepare them for a career. Here's a little CTE history for you. Career and Technical Education was funded under the Smith-Hughes Education Act of 1917, now called Perkins. This federal funding, in addition to state and local funding, provides the resources needed to run a high-quality CTE program. Lenoir County Public Schools offer CTE programming in every middle school and traditional high school, plus a new pathway offering at Lenoir County Learning Academy. Our programs include agriculture areas such as horticulture, agricultural mechanics, and animal science, architecture and construction, including drafting, carpentry, masonry, and interior design, arts, including Adobe design, business management and administration, including business education and Cte computer engineering, health sciences, including nursing and biotechnology, hospitality and tourism with a marketing focus, information technology or computer programming, STEM, including engineering and STEM survey classes, and transportation with our automotive courses. At this time, I'd like to introduce Miss Angie Newton and her students from Kinston High School in the Cte program.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. As she stated, my name is Angie Newton, and I teach CompTIA and computer engineering. And tonight I have with me Ms. Michaela Oles and Lavelle Gooding, who's in my computer engineering 2 class. And we will be demonstrating standard 1.04, identify internal components.
Alright, so here we have
Power supply.
here we have 2 round discs. We have a we have expansion slots, 2 expansion slots here. We have several capacitors here as well. We have a DVD drive and
We have a hard drive.
the CPU is located. Yours is behind the and yours is behind on the other one.
Okay, at this time, they should be taking out the hard drives. And that concludes our demonstration. Thank you.
Representing our middle schools is Ms. Jessica Jones, agricultural education teacher at Woodington Middle School, and her students Chloe and Kaylee.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. It's kind of the Jones show from Woodington tonight. We're all Joneses. That was not intentional. But we are here tonight to talk to you about some of the things that we are doing not only as an agricultural education program, but also as an FFA chapter, as that is an integral part of agricultural education. We do want to let everybody know that on February the 21st, which is a work day, that we are holding our annual Colby Tucker Memorial Blood Drive at Woodington from 12 to 6. So if you have not donated blood recently, please come out that day. You can go online at theredcross.org, make your appointment, or you can email me and I will get you scheduled. But at this time, I'm going to turn it over to these lovely ladies.
Hi, my name is Chloe Jones, and I'm Vice President of the Woodington Middle FFA chapter and the News Federation. In our environmental and natural resources class, we strive to reduce population or waste on Earth and to help in our community. And we found a way to do both of those things. So usually when you finish with like toilet paper rolls or paper towel rolls, you would end up throwing them away. But we found a way to use those for our local SPCA for cat toys, and I'm going to demonstrate on how to make those. Okay, so you take your toilet paper roll and you cut it about 1 inch down, all the way down on both sides.
And you can make the sizes different depending on your cat. If you have a kitten, you might want to make smaller pieces.
And then once you finish cutting all of them, you turn the flaps up. And then there you have it.
Excuse me, that's called
Cat toy. The cats play with.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Jones, and I am the treasurer of the Whittington Middle School FFA. One of our service projects we've done this year is Operation Christmas Child, and those are like shoe boxes, and you can stuff them with like hygiene, toys, and clothing. The only things you cannot put in there are like liquids, food, and toys that represent weapons. These shoeboxes go to children around the world who don't have as much. I don't know what I was gonna say. And so my mind went blank. Yeah, who are less fortunate. So I imagine that when these children get these gifts, they are very excited and joyful because they normally don't get Christmas gifts. So this experience has really let me know how appreciated you should be of what you get, because some people don't get a lot. So I'll let Ms. Jones answer any questions if you have some.
And we did have over 40 boxes this past year. So.
I forgot to say that.
Ms. Jones, do you want to talk about do you want to tell them briefly how your FFA program, because that is unique at the middle school, the FFA chapter at middle school, how it feeds into the high school programs and the horticulture and animal science and ag mechanics?
Sure. So at the middle school level, obviously, my students cannot drive. So all of our meetings are typically held during what we call our AIM time. We can have a meeting usually once a month on a Friday. And we go over different things that are coming up, whether it be service projects, fundraisers, which we have a Krispy Kreme fundraiser coming up this month. It is National FFA Week, the last week of February. So if you want donuts or certificates or buy one, get one free cards, I'm the person to come see. But we will have those. We try to get the students involved as much as possible as middle schoolers, because the more we get them involved, the more likely they are to follow on with that when they go to high school. It is a little bit more difficult because, again, our students can't drive. So we have to rely on mom, dad, sometimes the advisor to get them wherever they need to go. Last year we were able to compete in several events, even though everything was virtual. And our FFA middle school chapter actually brought home #1 in the state for the Envirothon for the middle school FFA division. We also implement a lot of grant writing, or they give me ideas and I write grants, to help get supplies that the students would like to have to be able to do things, different curriculum areas. I've also received quite a few scholarships to be able to go to learn more about some of the curriculum that I could be using with my kids, so that they are not just having something to do, but it's meaningful. They have to think. They have to process. It's not just, tell me what you learned. Tell me what this means. No, here's problem. How do we fix it? So we do have a very unique situation. We are the largest middle school FFA chapter in the state, have been since we started this program in 2017 at Whittington. And so far I have had officers that have left me. I had one that went to North Lenoir, who was, I think she was president this year, I think. And she was actually a regional officer. This was a very shy young lady who, I called her my turtle. She stayed in her shell, a lot like these two, believe it or not. You would never believe one of those is actually mine. But she came out of her shell through FFA and has really found her place and gotten her voice out. So this is just one other way that we can help our students. And whether they go into the agricultural career or not, these are life skills that they'll have. Thank y'all.
Yes, Mr. Smith.
You should your students know that we appreciate
Okay, I will.
Time to come forward, and we understand it, and we appreciate it. And
Thank you very much.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Great job, girl.
A fairly new program area at North Lenoir High School is our interior design program. Mrs. Baker and her students Mara and Haley will share their experience in this pathway, followed by our masonry instructor, Mr. Waugh, and his students Gracie, Dixie, and Robbie.
Good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
I am Ms. Baker. I teach at North Lenoir High School, as it's been stated, and we are talking about interior design. One of the things that we actually started with, as you guys are looking at their boxes, is the career section, right? We are career and technical education, and so I wanted to make sure that the students had an opportunity to learn and engage with the housing and interior field, right? We don't usually talk about that a lot, so I wanted them to take an opportunity to do that. So, as a bonus though, the kids were actually a part of a career box contest, and the CTE coordinators were the ones to select the winners because, hey, I didn't want to be biased. And so I want to give a special thanks to Papa John's in Goldsboro for sponsoring 70 boxes for the kids to be able to use. So, without further ado, Ms. Mara, you go ahead and start us off.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Good evening to everyone. I am Mara Ham, a sophomore at North Lenoir High School. As Ms. Baker stated, we completed the Career Box project during her class. I chose landscape architect because I wanted to see how designing outdoor spaces would fare in the market as a career. That's my box. During my research, I learned about the project outlook and income, as it is definitely a career to consider. Also, in interior design fundamentals, I learned about space planning, which is beneficial so you can properly utilize space and not crowd in one area. Overall, I enjoyed this class and believe any student should take this class because it opened new doors to many great opportunities and also opened my eyes to see the interior design world differently and how to let my creativity take over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening to everyone. I'm Haley Howell, a senior at North Lenoir High School. While in interior design fundamentals, the career I chose for my project was a painter since I have a passion for the arts. During my research, I learned how to make a 3D model with just scraps I had, which demonstrated problem solving because it helped me figure out where to place items in a limited space. I also learned how to research and find the facts I needed. It's a great challenge to expand my learning and creativity. I am currently taking Interior Design Studio, which allows me to learn more about the business side of interior design, which is perfect since I am interested in becoming an interior designer. Upon graduation, I plan to attend Lenoir Community College and then transfer to a 4-year university to earn my bachelor's degree in interior design. I do appreciate the CTE program for providing this pathway option. Happy CTE month. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wall?
So, my name is Rob Wall. I'm the masonry instructor at North Lenoir High School. These are some of my students from my masonry class. This is Robbie, this is Gracie, and this is Dixie. What we've been talking about this year was that we were learning to train our minds, but if you trained your mind and not your hands, you've only trained half the person. So this was an example I like to instruct with a tool belt. As you go through life, you're learning certain things, and as you pick up certain pieces of knowledge, you're able to put them in your tool belt to come back and use them at another time. So as we're going to go through this presentation, we've got several tools here, and the girls will be demonstrating, telling you what. I know Robbie was a little fusser. He said, I'm going to have 2 girls telling me what to do. And I said, son, you'll get used to it. So, but surprisingly enough, we have several girls that I love to say what we have the you tell me you can't and I'll show you can. And also we call this our makeup to mud program. So, but that we actually, the duality of a person, they can go from one extreme to the other. But anyway, I will let them demonstrate and tell you a little bit about some of the tools that we actually are in the shop and that they get to use on a day-to-day basis. Gracie? Yeah.
I'm going to come this way some, the center, so everybody can see.
Hi guys, I'm Dixie. I'm here to explain a couple of things. So, as you see here, we have two pieces. This is called a brick set. This is used, and if you would like to grab the brick. Slowly but surely. Okay. So this right here is called a brick set. This is used to cut brick in half. Right there. So that would be between the holes. And this is called a brick chisel. This is used to cut holes inside the brick. So those are two very important parts.
Hi, my name is Gracie. This is a mason's hammer. This is a cutting edge, which is used to break bricks in half. And this is a
It's called a striking head. The reason that the handle is wood is because if it were steel or metal, the vibration would cause your arm obviously to vibrate. It would be very uncomfortable. So this is why we use a wooden handle. Next, we have a torpedo level. This has three main rules and reasons of being used. So this would be plumb, level, and straight edge.
So this is a trowel, and this is a tuck pointer. The parts of the trowel are the handle, the ferrule, the shank, the prod, the heel, the blade, and the toe or point. And this is a tuck pointer. It basically fills in cracks and holes, so you would take a little bit of a mortar and then slide it along, and then smooth it along the edge.
So this is called a mason's line. You would put these are corner blocks. This helps us level our brickwork, make sure our bricks are not uneven and are following in a straight path.
This is a modular ruler to find out how many courses are in 16 inches, and there are 6 courses in 16 inches. So you would hold it like this, and you can see almost here, every 6 inches would be a course.
This tool here is called a barrel joint. A barrel. This is used to strike and smooth out joints in between brick or block. That's how you get cool little patterns. So that is all. Thank you guys.
And finally, from South Lenoir High School, Ms. Hill and her students Akira, Braille, and Lily are going to be representing our health sciences pathway.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Hill. I'm a registered nurse and one of 2 teachers at South Lenoir High School, and I teach health science. I have with me Miss Breely Blizzard, Miss Lily Linhart, and Miss Akira Harper, and our assistant Bob. I do want to give a shout out to all the students that have presented. It is extremely intimidating. I'm an adult and I teach high school students, and it's very intimidating to come and speak with y'all. And I'm just really impressed with them, and even when they messed up, that they kept going with it and just kept rolling. I also would like to mention that if it is not time for you to donate blood during Colby Tucker's Memorial Blood Drive, South Lenoir HOSA will also be having one the next month on March the 25th, and we invite anybody from the community to please contact me and sign up. We are in serious need for blood. I am going to allow these ladies to demonstrate some skills that we learn in what we call the PBM, or performance-based measure. A performance-based measure is one of our proof of learnings that we use in CTE in our updated curriculum. A proof of learning is any way that we gauge a student's learning and understanding throughout the semester. What did they learn from the course? Proof of learnings can be a state assessment at the end of the year. It can be, like us, project-based. It can also just be a teacher-made exam and they have to demonstrate something. So these ladies are going to speak with you and demonstrate a very important skill that everybody should know.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The PBM is 18 projects completed through the semester. Either a product is produced or a skill is demonstrated. For example, we create professional portfolios including resumes and cover letters, as well as job interviews. Through health science and other CTE programs, students are able to gain valuable skills that are personalized to their personal interest, and in this case, we are demonstrating for health science. 3 certifications in this course are BLS CPR, OSHA 10-hour healthcare certification, and Stop the Bleed certification. These are skills that can be used in everyday life as well in healthcare settings. The CPR certification uses feedback technology that tells us in real time if we are compressing the rate and depth needed to be effective. We are able to see the chest rise and the mannequin will give breaths. We will now be doing a brief demonstration of how these things work. So in this scenario, we're going to be demonstrating a 2-person rescuer team. First, we're going to start off by the position of the body and how it is efficient for both people. We're working around each other. In the case of saving a life, time is of the essence, and a easy working team is great.
Lily is going to show you how to do some compressions on the mannequin, and one of the feedback devices that we have to use when we teach this is that we have to know in real time whether or not what we're doing is correct or effective. It takes 70 pounds of pressure to properly compress an adult chest to pump the blood through the body. So that's a lot, and you know what I think 70 pounds of pressure feels like is going to be very different than what Lily thinks it feels like. So this is going to light up in different colors right here on his shoulder, and if it's not going very good, it'll be red. If we're getting there, it's going to be yellow, and if we're doing a good job, then we're going to see 2 green lights. So she's going to try to demonstrate a little bit of all of that, and once she's finished, Breezy's going to demonstrate how a 2-person rescue team would give breaths.
So
Okay.
when it goes. So in this case, you will see the lights. If you see red, as Ms. Hill said, that means you're not giving enough and efficient pressure. Yellow lights means that you're giving moderate and decent pressure, but still not enough to help the circulation of air. And green means good pressure and a good weight distribution. CPR is a lot harder for people depending on weight, height, and overall pressure that they're giving. And an important piece of CPR is to lock your elbows.
You did say red wasn't good, right?
Red is not good.
She's showing you all the different lights.
The way that you wouldn't run a red light is a good way to think about it.
Same concept as the traffic light.
And now,
but Breeley was able to talk to Lily and say, in a real situation, a healthcare team has to be able to speak to one another. You know, this is extremely difficult. If you do this for 5 minutes and you're going to be exhausted. The only thing keeping you going is adrenaline. So part of this is teamwork. I need Breeley to encourage Lily and say, hey, push harder, push faster. You know, give an example of what could be going wrong and encourage her, and in cases that she becomes too exhausted, they can switch places.
So Breeley is going to give us an example of breath, and efficient breaths are shown by chest rise. If your breaths are not efficient, you can easily move the mask or improve your seal to overall improve the breaths that are being given to the person in this situation.
So you can see the chest clearly rising right there. Breeley, let's chin drop. Okay, something that you have to be able to do is know how to hold the bag mask, and you also have to be able to tilt the head. So as soon as you let the mannequin's chin drop, the air is no longer moving, it's ineffective, and it's not working. So that real-time feedback lets them see what they are doing, if it's correct or not.
Ms. Hill, this very scenario played out unexpectedly in one of our schools last Wednesday afternoon. And the first responders on the scene responded immediately and appropriately and kept that child breathing and kept that going. So we certainly, that just highlights the need for AEDs, for CPR training, and just we're so pleased and thankful that this instruction is going on, and we need to expand that with our staff members and students as well.
Mr. Williams.
I will say that this curriculum that I teach my students is also going to include child BLS and infant BLS. And also, I'm going to be working with some of the coaches this week to make sure that their CPR is up to date and renewed. So it's something that we take pretty seriously, and want to make sure that everybody knows what to do and know who to call if they don't know what to do. And I think it was amazing. I heard about that, and that was.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Mr. Williams, an update for today. We've contacted and been in contact with Lenoir Community College, and typically the cost of a CPR training is about $50 per individual. They are going to waive some of their fee and only charge the district $17 per staff member. So
Great.
Nurse Hardy and Nurse Davis and I provide the plan to recertify and certify new staff members immediately.
Outstanding. Good.
Thank you guys so much.
Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you to all of our teachers and students for sharing with you many of the valuable career-building programs offered through our CTE program. I'd like to share a few of our CTE highlights with you. Did you know that 98% of students who complete a CTE pathway graduate from high school with their 4-year cohort? Our youth apprenticeship program is growing with 4 apprentices placed at Crown Equipment Corporation. This summer, we will be placing more youth apprentices at Crown and are adding 3 additional businesses for youth apprenticeship placements. CTE understands the benefits of early career exploration. In partnership with the elementary counselors and federal programs, we have expanded early career exploration with 4th and 5th graders. That includes the online Major Clarity Career Explorer for elementary schools, 5th grade field trips to the feeder high school to engage with high school CTE programming, and our upcoming Careers on Wheels event. CTE students are job shadowing again, and high school students are using Major Clarity to pinpoint career interests. Our students are taking field trips and are engaging with the business community to find out more about potential careers. CTE teachers have been the recipients of multiple grants, from Bright Ideas grants to Teacher Professional Development Awards. CTE teachers are winning big dollars for students. Students in middle school are busy completing their academic career plans in middle school with the assistance of our middle school career development coordinator, in partnership with the middle school counselors and the middle school CTE teachers. Our student, career, and technical education student organizations are back and are expanding. CTSOs include HOSA, DECA, FFA, TSA, and FCCLA. Not only are these clubs completing service projects, but our students are winning at the regional, state, and national levels. The LCPS CTE director, Amy Jones, showcased LCPS CTE programs at the state conventions, and will also be sharing our successful youth apprenticeship program at an upcoming national conference. Earlier this school year, our students represented our district well at the inaugural AIM conference hosted by NCDPI in Raleigh. They were a part of a very small number of districts selected to attend. Finally, our interior design teacher from North Lenoir, Ms. Baker, who was here earlier, is facilitating a distance learning interior design pathway at the Learning Academy in order to provide students at the Learning Academy with a CTE pathway. As you can see, our CTE program is very active and is making a difference in the lives of our students. We thank the board for its continued support of the CTE programs of Lenoir County Public Schools. We are making a strong impact on our students and continue to strive to meet the Lenoir County Public Schools goal of career and college readiness for all students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from Mrs. Harrison or Mrs. Cousin? All right, I would like to thank you, ladies, for all your hard work, and also I'd like to thank Woodington Middle School, North Lenore High School, South Lenore High School for all the work.
Kinston High School. And Kinston.
And Kinston High School for all the hard work. It is amazing when what students can learn and achieve when given the opportunity and the resources.
Mr. Chair.
Chair recognizes Ms.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Smith, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's got a question for either Mr. Harvey or Mr. Williams. What would it take for us to get the AEDs in all the schools?
We
Yeah,
do.
all in- in all of them?
We currently do, but we
Okay.
would like to expand beyond what we have.
Okay.
And we currently have those and the portable AEDs on our buses, our activity buses and buses going with athletics, but we'd like to expand even beyond that. I mean, having one or two or three on a large campus, we'd like to have them more available even than that. And this training is central, the CPR training.
Right, because like you said, with large campuses, you need one in each area.
Each
Okay,
building,
that's good.
yes.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Smith. Chair recognizes Mrs. Frances Herring to present the proposed instructional calendar for the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening again, board members. Tonight, I will present the calendar recommendation for the 2022-2023 school year for your review and consideration. Tonight, it is an information item, and we ask that you, and I will ask you at the next board meeting to please vote and approve the calendar at the upcoming meeting. I just wanted to give a quick review of the North Carolina calendar laws. We are bound by some very specific criteria. Start date can be no earlier than the Monday closest to August 26th, and the end date no later than Friday closest to June 11th. There are no educational purpose waivers for exemption to the opening or closing date. It has to cover at least 9 calendar months. We have to have 185 days or 1,025 hours of instruction, and our calendar follows the hours of instruction. We must have at least 9 teacher work days. The local boards shall designate at least 2 of those work days as optional work days. Have a minimum of 10 vacation leave days, so there are always at least 10 V days in the calendar. Have the same or equivalent number of legal holidays as those designated by the State Personnel Commission for state employees. And so we follow that, we pull those dates down and plug those into the calendars. We can't have school on Sunday, and Veterans Day must be a holiday for all public school personnel for students enrolled in the public schools. Can't be a work day, can't be an optional work day. It is a holiday. So we are required to have a calendar committee. Our calendar committee met January 10th last month. It was a Zoom meeting. We introduced each other. Many members of the calendar committee have served in that capacity for a very, very long time. We may have had 1 or 2 new faces in the committee, but it is a seasoned group of educators that are very familiar with the process of creating a calendar. I did review the calendar rules with them, just like I did with you, but I spent a little bit more time with them. The presentation of the calendar options, we worked with Mr. Ron Owens, who's a retiree of Lenoir County Public Schools, and he is all things calendar. And we have been fortunate enough to be able to contract with him, and he helps us create calendar options that fit all of the criteria required by law. And then this team, this committee, if you will, goes through each of those calendar options that are created, and we talk about them. We pose questions. If there's something about a certain day, we talk about it. While the votes were due to me and to the Associate Superintendent's Office on the 28th, but we had an open Google Doc for questions and answers for all members of the calendar committee. So as people in their buildings or in their sites, in their offices had questions about a calendar, they could post it on the Google Doc so that everyone could see it. But we didn't have any questions in this cycle. Everyone seemed to, the calendars were clearly presented, and we were not posed with any questions or having to provide any answers. So that was good. So we met January 10th. We reviewed the 3 options that Mr. Owens had helped us create. And after the committee reviewed the calendars, adjustments were made based on the recommendations of the committee. The 3 calendar options were presented to the schools between January the 11th and January 27th. And the way they're presented is up to that person and their principal. So sometimes it's presented in a faculty meeting. The calendar representative will do a presentation and present it at the faculty meeting. Sometimes they will go present them at grade level meetings and meet with each of the teachers and show them, and they will explain their job. It's an important job. They go and they explain each of the 3 calendar options, and they go through with them all the differences and make sure that everyone understands what they all stand for, what they all have. They're not very different because they really can't be because of the rules and regulations. The votes have to be anonymous. So this principal and the calendar representative come up with an anonymous voting option. Generally, I know that when I was a principal, I had a box at the front office with a slot in it, and there was a list of every person in the building that worked in that building, custodians, office staff, TAs, teachers, and as people came and voted, the office, member of the office staff just checked their name off, marked it off. So we don't know how they voted, we didn't know what they voted, but we did make sure that they did vote. So there can't be, no one can encourage one calendar over another. The votes are taken anonymously, and the tally for each calendar option is entered into a Google spreadsheet. So it's important for us to know how many votes did each calendar receive. So I'm going to share that with you. There were 3 options. Option A this year was the winner with 441 votes. Option B received 71 votes, and option C received 376 votes for a total of 888 votes. That's about 80% of our employees, so that's a good turnout. Anything less than that, we would require our directors and principals to go back and make sure everyone voted. But 80% is a valid percentage of our staff. And so with that said, option A is the calendar that we would like to present to you this evening for your consideration. The calendar has been uploaded and attached in Google Docs. It is in this format. This is what our calendars look like, so you should have that for you. I just want to give a few highlights from the option 1, the option A calendar. The workday, there's a workday or a holiday in every single month. So that's important to teachers. We have one early release day for students, September through May, to accommodate for the letters training for our kindergarten through 5th grade teachers and other professional learning opportunities for our 6th through 12th grade. That is new. We have not had an early release day, and we normally only have 2 a year. So we've been able to provide in this calendar an early release day for students so that the teachers have adequate time to work on this letters training. And one of the things that we are working on now is actually scheduling the trainers with Voyager Socrest. And we're hoping that we will be able to get the trainers on those early out days so that that time will be allocated and teachers won't miss school and we won't need to find subs.
And that is deep, wide training. We're not in cohort 1 or 2, but cohort 3. In the districts that are in cohort 1, they say it's outstanding training. Their teachers are benefiting greatly from it. But it is very intensive. And if you don't have something like an early out day or a few of them scattered around, it's all after school and evening work. So we think this will be particularly valuable in building it into the calendar. A lot of districts are doing that.
And it was a valuable lesson learned from cohort 1, and so we appreciated them sharing that with the rest of the state. The letters training is mandated. Most of these early out days precede a work day, which allow teachers an extended, uninterrupted time for a day and a half for PD, for planning, and team building. So it will hopefully give us the time necessary for our teachers to experience this training. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving is a vacation day. That's one of those sacred cows in Lenoir County. So it is, Wednesday is a vacation day. We have 2 work days in January so that the high schools are able to transition to second semester. That's an important piece for our high schools. They do request that every single year. It is because they're starting a whole new school year over. And it takes an extra day for them. Good Friday is a holiday in this calendar. The last day for students, in all of the calendars, the last day for students is Wednesday, June the 7th, and graduation is Saturday, June the 10th. If you have any questions regarding the calendar, I'll be happy to answer those for you. The beginning of the work days in August, it's 8 days. That is not uncommon. We've had extended work days like that in August for the past several years. And one of the reasons being is we're required to have a certain number of work days, and if we're trying to get our exams in before Christmas, we have to stack some of our work days at the beginning of the year to get as many instructional days as we can before the exams in December. There is a method to all of this. Yes, method to the madness, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any questions or comments from Mrs. Herring?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Smith?
Do you have any idea, do you remember when the first and last day of school was in the 2021 school year, by chance?
I can go look it up.
That's okay. I was just noticing on this calendar the difference when this one for 2022 and 2023 from the this year is that looks like the last day is pushed out a week later than what it was.
So one of the reasons for that is the school counselors requested time to have an extra day to prepare for graduation. It's a very hard turnaround. And so, and just the way the months fall, it just works that way. I don't, there's no reason, there's not a particular reason for that. There really isn't.
I just want to notice it's a week later next year than it is ends this year. Okay.
Are there any other questions? Thank you, Mrs. Herring, for the presentation. You will bring that back next month, correct?
Yes, sir, I will.
I would like to thank everyone involved for the hard work of preparing the school calendar. Chair recognizes Mr. Eric Adams to present the budget calendar for the 2022-2023 fiscal year.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. The budget calendar establishes a timeline of objectives to ensure the timely preparation and approval of the 2022-2023 Lenoir County Board of Education budget. I'll point out a couple of dates on the calendar that are in bold. Those are required by general statute that we meet those requirements. Our county commissioners do ask that we prepare and present our budget request by May 1st, and we make every effort to make that possible. There's no significant departures from previous year's calendars, but if you have any questions as you review, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Adams? Thank you, Mr. Adams, for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, and the chair recognizes Mr. Adams again to present the January 2022 financial report.
Yes, sir. The January 2022 financial report summarizes budget and year-to-date activity for all Lenoir County Board of Education funds as of January 31st, 2022. Additionally, the report presents the local current expense fund balance as of the same date. As you have an opportunity to review the report, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Adams? All right, thank you, Mr. Adams. Appreciate it. Okay, we will now move to the action portion of the agenda. We'll stay with Mr. Adams. Chair recognizes Mr. Adams to present budget amendment number 3 for the 2021-2022 fiscal year.
Thank you again. Budget amendment number 3 is being used to revise the working budget of the Lenoir County Board of Education to reflect changes that have occurred throughout the fiscal year. You will see a detail of the program report codes that are affected by this budget amendment. This year's amendment cycle has been a little different than previous years, and we just did budget amendment number 2 last month. The reason for that is with the timing of the state budget, many of the revisions that we would have received over a 5 to 6 month period in previous years have came in about a month, 45 days.
All right, any questions or comments from Mr. Adams? All right, thank you, Mr. Adams. Is there a recommendation or a motion pertaining to budget amendment number 3? Y'all don't want the money?
Move to approve.
Who was that now?
Move.
We got a motion by Mr. Smith. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Davis. We have a motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Mr. Davis to approve budget amendment number 3 for the fiscal year 2021-2022. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Chair recognizes Mr. Brian Cord to present the Lenoir County Public School short summer session, June 6th through the 9th, 2022.
Good evening, board members. The North Carolina State Board of Education permits students enrolled in EOC and EOG courses to repeat elements of the course during the summer. Since the beginning of the short summer session, as you know, the data does show that students have benefited and multiple schools have increased their school performance grade. So tonight, I am requesting that Lenoir County Board of Education approve that Lenoir County Public Schools offer a short summer session that will provide additional instruction to students and reassess their knowledge.
All right, any questions or comments from Mr. Corey? All right, is there a recommendation or motion pertaining to short summer session? We got a motion by Mr. Anderson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Woods. We have a motion by Mr. Anderson and a second by Mr. Woods to approve the Lenoir County Public School 2022 short summer session as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Chair recognizes Mrs. Frances Herring to present an out-of-state field trip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The softball team from South Lenoir would like to participate in a tournament in Myrtle Beach over spring break, and they are respectfully requesting permission to travel to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, April 17th through the 20th.
This is a tournament they've been to almost every year. The last couple, they haven't. I don't think they've had the tournament, but every year that it's been held, they've been.
And they will be traveling by a school activity bus.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. King. Got a motion by Mr. King. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Davis. We have a motion by Mr. King and a second by Mr. Davis to approve the out-of-state school field trip. Any discussion? Hearing none, chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Herring. Chair recognizes Mrs. Frances Herring again to present Lenoir County Early College 2022-2023 instructional calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the calendar for the early college for this coming year. This calendar is different from ours. It has to mirror the community college. And actually, Mr. Sandeman had to just adjust it at the end of last week because the community college actually changed their calendar.
They made a change,
that
yes.
they had approved previously. So this calendar reflects the Lenoir Community College calendar, and we respectfully ask tonight that you approve this calendar for our early college high school.
Any questions or comments from Mrs. Herring? Thank you, Mrs. Herring. Got a motion by Mr. Anderson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Davis. Got a motion by Mr. Anderson, a second by Mr. Davis to approve the Lenoir County Early College 2022-2023 instructional calendar as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Herring.
Thank you so much.
Chair recognizes Mr. Brent Williams for review of the Lenoir County Board of Education face covering policy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, as you know, the state law SB 654 requires local boards of education to vote at least once a month on whether their face covering policy should be modified. A synopsis of our current face mask policy is effective January 12, 2022. Face coverings are required at all indoor facilities for students, staff, and visitors during regular school hours and at indoor sporting and other extracurricular events. The policy will be reviewed when the COVID-19 positive percentage for students falls below 1% for 3 consecutive weeks and when the community spread rating falls below the high rating.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. Now, as Mr. Williams stated, we did reconvene the committee to study and review our face covering policy. Mr. Williams reviewed the current Lenoir County Public School covering policy. Mrs. Pam Heath reviewed the current positive numbers for students, current positive numbers for staff, current percentage of student and staff face-to-face positive cases, and current week-by-week trends. Mr. Williams reviewed the current board approved metrics and current status. The current, as Mr. Williams stated, the current board approved metrics stated if the school-based population positive cases are less than 1% of the school-based population and the community spread is less than high for a period of 3 consecutive weeks, then the committee would reconvene and review the metrics and make a recommendation to the board pertaining to the Lenoir County Board of Education's face covering policy. Even though the data showed that the school-based population positive cases were down and the percentage of school-based positive cases was below 1% for the week of January 23rd through February 6th, 2022, for the first time in 4 weeks, it was the first week of a 3 consecutive weeks, of the 3 weeks, 3 consecutive weeks prescribed by the board policy. Therefore, it's the recommendation of the committee to continue to require mandatory face coverings for all students, staff, and visitors while indoors at all Lenoir County public school facilities. Is there a recommendation or motion pertaining to the face covering policy? Yes, Mr.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes, sir. Now, does it?
It pertains to the information that you.
Okay, all right.
You stated that the population numbers were down below 1%.
Yeah, the numbers for this past week, the cases were down and the percentage was actually below 1%.
But the community
The community spread is still high.
still high. But didn't you originally say that it wasn't an either or?
It's an and.
It's an and.
Both got to be below 4.
So you got to meet both.
Right. 3 consecutive weeks.
So in the, you know, what we voted on last month or in January 10th was that if we had 3 consecutive weeks, then we would recommend or would consider face mask optional, but we still, this is just our first week. So if we go by our metrics that we set in our guidelines, we still would need 2 more weeks of less than 1%.
Mr. Chair, I actually think you need 3 consecutive weeks in which you're under 1% and the community spread is high.
Does the community spread
And
be,
it's
a little high for all 3 weeks? Okay, the community spread be high, be a little high in the 3rd week.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
According to what we said last month.
If you had 3 consecutive weeks below 1%, and when you get to that 3rd week, the community level is below high. I'm saying you don't have to have the community thing be high, below high all 3 weeks.
Right.
For 3 consecutive weeks.
For 3 consecutive weeks.
It's just that last week? When
It
you,
just have to be that last week when you have 3 consecutive weeks of below 1%.
I think I got what you said.
So we're talking mid-February.
Yes. Talking mid-February.
With the understanding that the committee will reconvene.
Yes.
and discuss.
So if we reach if we have 3 consecutive weeks of below 1%, then that will trigger, and if that, that should, the information that we got from our health director, he knows that the trends are going down, the cases are going down. So we should probably reach that by the middle of February, and then we'll reconvene the committee and take a look at the data and see where we are, and see if we've met that sub criteria for all 3 weeks. And the board would then the committee would come back and make another recommendation to the board.
Mr. Chair, I think you're missing the second part of that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You need to have it below, according to what's written here in the agenda, you have to have 3 consecutive weeks below 1%, and at that time, have the community spread lower than high. And that would trigger a committee meeting. Is it?
That is correct. On the 3rd week.
Only if at the 3rd week, it's no longer high as community spread. Again, you can meet anytime you want. This is just when you agreed to meet to reconsider. And you can also choose to do whatever you want tonight in terms of mass. But in terms of what you said in the meeting, that would trigger the meeting when it's 3 weeks and you have community spread below high.
Yes.
And the recommendation from the committee is
To require the mandatory face coverings. Continue mandatory face coverings.
so
I've got a motion by Mr. Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Anderson, a second by Mr. Smith to continue mandatory face covering for all students, staff, and visitors while indoor at all Lenoir County public school facilities, with the stipulation that if the school-based population COVID cases are less than 1% of the school-based population and the community spread is less than high for a period of 3 consecutive weeks, then the committee will reconvene and review the metrics and make a recommendation pertaining to the Lenoir County Board of Education face covering policy.
Not quite.
No.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, so yes, sir.
I'm not sure that the committees, when the committee meets, needs to be in the motion. I
Right.
think the only motion we need is motion to continue the current face mask policy for another month.
I think if you had stopped after, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't need the
No, no, we just need, you've already made that commitment as a
Okay.
committee.
So
It's
we'll
not
just
part
have
of
a
the motion.
motion to continue mandatory face covering for all students, staff, and visitors while indoors at all Lenoir County public school facilities.
Mr.
Correct?
Anderson, was that your motion?
Is that the motion? All right, and that's second?
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Chair recognizes Mr. Nick Harvey to present surplus items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The attached items from South Lenoir High School are submitted for your approval to be deemed surplus. Any proceeds derived from the sale shall be returned to the respective departments. First, we have a plasma cam. Both are non-functional, and we're unable to get the parts required for the upgrade. Second is a washer and dryer. Both are not working. And the last item is the ventilation hood. The equipment is no longer needed for the curriculum.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Anderson.
I'm willing to make your motion on your surplus property, but I do have a question.
Okay.
What's the status of disposal of the teacher property?
We are awaiting board approval.
Or approve what?
To proceed.
What was the question? Oh, teachers. Okay. We did that.
We already did that.
Okay. So our next step is to present it to the county commissioners.
But that was understood when we made the motion.
Okay, so that's the next step. That's where we are. We will present it to the county commissioners for, as required by the policy.
Is it declared surplus?
Just for clarity. What was that vote taken?
Don't want to guess.
I'm thinking it was
It was November the first.
It was
November 1,
November
2021.
So the county commissioners went in December and January.
Correct.
So we.
We met today.
Huh?
We also met today.
And today.
Yes.
So we haven't forwarded anything to the county commission.
As of today, we have not.
Is that explanation?
And there was a request from a board member to have a facilities meeting, and we are in the process of scheduling that meeting.
But that had nothing to do with.
Well, the request from the board member was about Teachers Memorial.
It was.
Yes.
And I would accept to be that board member.
Yes.
But that was with the understanding that if the county commissioners, as it was anticipated, did not want the property, that it would come back
Thank you for the clarification.
to the board. It was at that point that I was asking that the facility committee consider anything before we put up a bid.
Thank you.
I know that, surplus property.
We got a motion to declare surplus, the property surplus. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Davis. We got a motion by Mr. Anderson, a second by Mr. Davis, to approve the surplus items as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Is there a recommendation or motion pertaining to closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I move the Lenoir County Board of Education go into closed session under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel files, to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege and to consider matters related to the initial employment of an individual employee.
We have a second. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith?
Davis.
Mr. Davis, sorry. We have a motion by Mr. Anderson, and a second by Mr. Davis to move to closed session. Any discussion? Hearing none, chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We're now in closed session. Chair recognizes that the Lenoir County Board of Education is back in open session. Is there a recommendation or motion pertaining to the personnel recommendations?
Move to accept the personnel report with the addendum.
Motion by Mr. Anderson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Woods. We have a motion by Mr. Anderson, and a second by Mr. Woods to approve the personnel recommendations and addendum as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Is that a no, Mr. Smith? Okay. Motion carries. All right, now with no further business to come before this board, is there a recommendation or motion pertaining to adjournment?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by Mr. King. We have a motion by Mr. Anderson and a second by Mr. King to adjourn the February regular monthly board meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, the chair will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Please stay safe.